Hello everyone, it is Matt here from Scoop in Response, and today we are going through another video deck tech of one of the new cards for Brothers War, and that is Titania, Voice of Gaea. A really sweet card, this one. It's another Meld commander, which is really interesting. I think it can be a bit of a trap to build a Meld commander. If you're building it completely around the melded side, you're just going to, basically be very sad once your commander's removed once after it's melded, particularly if you don't have a lot of ways to recur it, from the graveyard or even from exile. Most of the time you won't. I guess we'll jump in and have a look. So we've got, Titania, Voice of Gaea. It's 1 green for a 3/4 with reach. So similar to, endurance stats with the exception of flash. And it's got, whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more lands in your graveyard and you both own and control Titania, Voice of Gaea and a land named Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, exile them and then meld them into Titania, Gaea Incarnate. So let's jump in and have a look at what those other cards are. So we've got the land, which is the land enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary green creature. So basically, if you've got like your early legendaries, we don't really have any early legendaries in this list aside from the commander itself. It'll come in as a tap land, so not great. But then we've got pay 2 and green and tap to create a 2/2 bear. And it's a token, then you mill 3 cards, activate only as a sorcery. So it basically sort of mills you and gets you to the point where you can cast your Titania, where you can meld your Titania, Gaea Incarnate. And when it does meld, it gets Vigilance, Reach, Trample, and Haste, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. So when Titania enters the battlefield, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So it's a splendid reclamation on a stick, so really, really sweet. And it's also got an activated ability, which I guess is relevant. Pay 3 and a green, put 4 1/1 counters on a target land you control. It becomes an elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. So pretty cool in that it's it's an instant speed sync, and you can activate it, more than once on the same land and effectively make it as big as you want. So yeah, it's very cool in that regard. But basically this deck is I think it's quite interesting, because finding the balance between having just a deck that performs on its own but also consistently gets us to this end state where we've got Titania, and then being able to protect it all in mono green is actually like quite a difficult challenge. It's quite a lot to sort of handle for green alone. So obviously we're going to be leaning on artifacts to help us. There's going to be some sort of bits and pieces that are going to protect us. So we've got a little bit of a Voltron sub theme, but obviously with the size of Titania itself, it's really it's not going to take more than 1 or 2 hits if you're actually hitting with Titania, Gaea Incarnate. So very, very cool in that respect. And I believe that this side will still count towards commander damage, as well as the regular side counting towards commander damage as well. So if you do get a situation where you've hit people more than once, with your regular version, and then eventually it ramps, then you should be able to basically, continue the punishment with the big boy version. So let's jump in and have a look at the list. So for creatures, we've got quite a few. We've got all of the, the 1-drop dorks that you could possibly want. We've got Arbor Elf is really sweet because we've got Yavimaya in the deck as well. So we're going to be untapping some, things that aren't necessarily supposed to be forests that will be. So we're going to be able to generate additional value from there, not just the 1 mana. Good Elvish Mystic, Findhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves. I'll cover all of these in the same. They're just your 1-drop dorks. Really sweet. We've got a bit of an elves sub-theme in this. You'll see the Priest of Titania. We've got a few other cards that are also elves. you know, Kyrian Ranger, Elvish Reclaimer, all of that. So really sweet there. Reclaimer is really great because obviously being a lands deck, we want ways to tutor our lands out. So, you know, you can definitely use Elvish Reclaimer to go and get your, you know, Argoth land so that you can basically at instant speed, you know, or close to instant speed, you're doing it at end step of your opponent's turn. You can, you know, basically create the big boy version, Titania, Gaea Incarnate, yeah, at end step, and then be attacking with it on the next turn. So really cool. It also fuels the condition because it needs to have lands in the bin. So you're sacrificing a land to do that. So really good synergy there. Kyrian Ranger, we've got Return a Forest you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature, activate only once each turn. So we've actually got a combo you can see just looking at it here from, if you recall other videos that I've put out with Ashaya and Kyrian Ranger. So essentially Ashaya and Kyrian Ranger is in infinite landfalls, infinite ETBs, because you can use Kyrian Ranger's own ability to return itself to hand and untap another creature like Ashaya to pay for the cost. So essentially you'll break even each time and you just keep bouncing and you know, untapping a land, so you get infinite landfall. So if we got any landfall payoffs, yeah, we can basically you know, trigger that as many times as we want. So Tireless Provisioner or Tireless Tracker lets us create infinite mana. You know, we've got Lotus Cobra, infinite mana, all of that kind of good stuff. Yeah, a whole bunch of ways to sort of do cool stuff with that. I think that's probably the only infinite combo, or I guess like compact infinite combo. I just really like this. It's 2 creatures. You know, your opponents have got plenty of ways to remove it. They can respond, you know, at any point. So I don't really see this as particularly egregious, you know, to include in a list. We've got Lotus Cobra, as we mentioned, you know, just for basically having the, you know, those landfall triggers, but we're going to be playing a lot of lands, obviously, so really, really good card. Outland Liberator, bit of destroy target artifact or enchantment on a stick. So this side, you can sack it to destroy an artifact or enchantment, but then when we flip it, it becomes the big boy, and it does it on attack as well, so very cool there. Priest of Titania is just going to be a big dork in this deck. You know, we're going to have 2 or 3 elves if we're going to be, you know, playing this on curve or, you know, turn 3 or turn 2. We're going to be tapping it for like 3 mana sometimes. So very sweet. We've got Augur of Autumn. I guess you could put this in a similar category to Courser of Krufix and Oracle of Moldiah. You know, they're basically just being able to play lands on the top of your deck and playing additional lands in the case of Oracle of Moldiah. So really good card for, you know, getting those lands off the top. You can play creature spells once you have Coven. Very sweet. Darkwatch Elves. So this is a weird card. It is definitely a weird card, but it is part of a bit of a compact loop that we can achieve in this deck that is going to let us, you know, likely flip our Titania. So the way that this works is we wanted an elf, so we've picked an elf, basically because it's got some additional synergies, but what we actually care about is the cycling 2 on a creature. So it's actually quite difficult to find a good cycling creature where you pay just 1, for example. So this is actually the best one. There's one other one, I think it's a monkey or something like that. It's an unrelevant tribal type, so it just came down to these 2, and it's a 3-drop, so there wasn't any cheaper ones than this. There are some cards that have, you know, utility outside of just the card type, but realistically we just want this for a cycling ability. Now, there is a line where we have Darkwatch Elves, Golgari Grave Troll, and we're going to be using the enchantment Survival of the Fittest. And the line basically goes like this. We discard a card to Survival of the Fittest for 1 green, and we use it to search up Golgari Grave Troll. Then we use the Survival of the Fittest again to discard the Golgari Grave Troll and put it into the bin, and we then use the Survival of the Fittest ability to get the Darkwatch Elves. We can then cycle the Darkwatch Elves, and instead of drawing a card from the cycle, we dredge 6 with the Golgari Grave Troll. So what this actually does is it's going to put a whole bunch of cards into your graveyard and hopefully get you over the edge at instant speed to get Titania to flip at your end step. So if we are sort of at a situation where we have both of the pieces but just not enough cards in our graveyard in terms of lands, this is a great line for that. And we really only have a couple of ways to dredge reliably in this deck. We've got Golgari Grave Troll, we've got Life from the Loam. I don't think I actually ended up including any other dredges. No, I think it's just those two. There might be one more in the non-creature permanents, but yeah, basically we want to be using this line with Darkwatch Elves and Golgari Grave Troll. So basically if we have our Survival of the Fittest out, it just means 4 mana and we're going to dredge 6. So that's like obviously a big rate, but it can be done at instant speed and we can catch our opponents out. And that's like really, really good, really powerful. It's the difference between, you know, telegraphing our win con and just being, you know, completely able to like just kill an opponent straight away. So we want to be thinking about it though with cards like you know, protection spells basically. So we want to make sure that we can protect the Titania if we're in a highly interactive pod, for example. Okay, so Eternal Witness, you know, this is just a staple within the EDH decks and green in particular. We've got Manglehorn, it's another Outland Liberator. Reclamation Sage, same thing. So, you know, that sort of light stacks and removal pieces. We've got to be like quite specific about what we want to remove. And, you know, given that we've got all 3 of the Reclamation Sage, Outland Liberator, and Manglehorn, given that we've got all 3 of the Reclamation Sage, Outland Liberator, and Manglehorn, you know, we can be using this to, I guess, do a bit of bargaining. You know, if someone wants to remove another creature, we can take care of artifacts or enchantments that are going to be problematic. So very cool in that respect. You know, you can run cards like Beast Within as well. I don't think we've got it in this list, mostly because we want lots of synergies with our creatures. So, yeah. Ramanak Excavator, it's just a sweet card in general, but in this deck, you know, it means that we're going to be putting lands in and out of the graveyard. Really good in that respect, so we're going to gain that life every time we do that. Talus Provisioner and Tracker, so we've got the Landfall triggers from both of these. Like, these are just fine cards to deploy on curve as well. Like, that's the big thing, you know. If you play this on, you know, well, probably one step after curve if you don't ramp. So, like, you play this on turn 4, you know, you've got your 3 lands, you play this and you play your fetch land, you get 2 treasure tokens or 2 food tokens or 2 clues or whatever it is you like. Really, really good cards. Questing Beast. This is just a sick card to get through all of those weird things that you might not be able to usually do in mono green. You know, if someone's playing, you know, damage can't be prevented spells or fogs or something like that, and you just don't have any ways to meaningfully deal with that kind of thing, this is just a great way to be able to interact with that deck still. Root Path Purifier. So I put a short out on this video. I think this is like an absolutely busted card for EDH, and it's kind of the worst kind of busted as well, because what it actually does is it makes all of the expensive, rare, and valuable, I guess, land cards even better. And that's kind of like a bit, I guess, frustrating from an accessibility perspective, you know, because me personally, I do have a Gaia's Cradle and you know, things like that. You know, I do have fetch lands, and a lot of, you know, Commander players don't have these cards. You know, I play lots of Modern, I play lots of, you know, Legacy and Highlander and things like that. So you need those cards. You can't proxy them in those formats. And so that's why I have these cards. But, you know, I completely understand that a lot of, you know, Commander players just don't want to spend $1,000 on a land. And I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah. And this is like the worst kind of, I guess, card for that, because this makes all of those cards so much better, because you can turn a Prismatic Vista, which is, you know, a $40 fetch land, and you fetch and you go and get a Gaia's Cradle with it, you know, and it comes in untapped. It's just, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely insane. And yeah, it's really quite challenging to temper my use of this kind of card. When it comes out, I'm just probably going to be slamming it in quite a few decks. I just think it's like so strong. But yeah, very interesting, very cool, you know, I guess, card that you can use to get lock pieces too. You know, you can strip lock opponents in 1v1 formats with it as well. So yeah, lots of weird stuff with that. But we won't go into that any further. Timeless Witness, we've got a another EWIT that's a bit more expensive, but we've got the Eternalize as well. So if we dredge this, it means that we can Eternalize to get back a piece that we didn't want to dredge. So it means that none of our outs or none of our cards are, I guess, like dealt with as soon as they go into the bin. You know, we've always got a way reliably, no matter how much we dredge, to be able to get one of those cards back from the bin. Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, it's a combo piece, but also it's a beater. Very, very cool. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. So, you know, you can use this to have your Arbor Elf untap a creature. You know, you can have it untap your Priest of Titania. Really, really strong there if you're making like 6 mana per tap or something like that. You know, and then there's just other abilities that are really cool too that you can have that are, you know, going to let you untap you know, certain bits and pieces. We've got Golgari Grave Troll. Oh, you can just use it to like untap a big blocker, for example. You know, you can also untap other lands that aren't forests. You can untap your guys' Cradle with this Ashire's combo. I've probably gone into that a bit. We've got Golgari Grave Troll. We've spoken about that. You know, very cool card. You want to cast it, that's fine. I'm not really looking to cast it in this deck. This is just going in and out of the graveyard as much as possible. We've got Green Sleeves, Myro Sorcerer. This is a pretty cool card. I didn't realize the price was getting up there though. It's like 17 bucks now. It's got protection from Planeswalkers and Wizards, specific. Yeah, really strange. But it's another one of those cards that has power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. And then you've got the Landfall ETB trigger to make 3/3 badges. So very cool there. Apparently this is a very old card that's very flavorful callback to this from like, you know, years and years and years ago. I'm not familiar with the specifics, but yeah, very cool. Like badger tokens seem kind of fun. Titania, Protector of Argoth. Very cool card. It's just the other form of our Titania, our commander. Every time you fetch, basically, you put a land in the graveyard, or you dredge 6 and you put 6 lands in the bin, you get 6/5/3s. Really, really strong. Woodland Bellower. Search your library for a non-legendary 3-drop or less. So you can just do cool shit like, you know, we'll go and get a Ramanap Excavator so we can play lands out of our bin. We'll go and get an EWIT so we can return something from the graveyard that we might want, or a Courser of Krufix to, you know, see the top card of our deck. There's just a lot of, I guess, small things that really can add up, and it's the flexibility of this, you know, being able to get 2 bodies. Very, very cool card overall. We've got Beanstalk Giant, so it's a ramp spell, but also a dude. A really big dude, equal to the number of lands, another great thing. And then lastly, we've got Craterhoof Behemoth. If you want to cut this card, that's fine. I understand why people don't like this card. Next up, Instants and Sorceries. So we've got our Green Suns, our Finale of Devastation. These are interchangeable. We're just searching for things. Important to note though, Finale can get things out of the graveyard, so you know, don't forget that. Finale of Devastation also gives everything haste, so you know, you can, if you have infinite mana, this is a win con, because yeah, you can just kill everyone as long as you have 4 creatures, or 3 creatures, sorry. Loam, I've spoken ad nauseum about this card. Absolutely sick card, just really, really good. Really like it. Nature's Law, 3 visits, and yeah, Nature's Law and 3 visits are just really good ramp spells. They both just work really well, really efficient for land ramp. Cultivate is another one of those cards that just gets broken with the Root Path Purifier, because you search for 2 basic land cards, and so you can go and get Gaia's Cradle and, you know, Thespian Stage and copy your Cradle if you want to, you know, do that. I don't think that works, but yeah, basically do all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. You know, you could get excuse me, what are some of the things that we could get? Let's have a look at the lands real quick. So yeah, you can get Lotus Field and Thespian Sage. That'll get you a whole bunch of stuff. You can get Nykthos. You could go and get Dark Depths and Thespian Stage. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this, I just had to have a look at this again. Yeah, really, really good amount of, I guess, flexibility. Being able to tutor up a 20/20 with a Cultivate seems pretty cool, so I like that. Natural Order, you know, once again, this is sort of just plays into the line with the Craterhoof Behemoth, but, you know, you could also use it to get the Shire or, you know, Woodland Bellower or Titania, Protector of Argoth if you wanted as well. Really, really sweet. Shamanic Revelation. We're going to be drawing cards for our big spell, our big creatures. This is just kind of like, I guess, the, you know, generic top end card draw that I include, so I don't necessarily like to put a whole bunch of little card draw in this kind of deck. It's a little bit sort of tit for tat, in my opinion. I don't really like it because we want to be going big, and then we want to find, you know, big payoffs less often, basically. Boundless Realms. This is the big bad granddaddy with a Rootbound Purifier. So, you know, search your library for X basic land cards, where X is the number of lands you control. So let's say you have 7 lands to cast this because it costs 7. So let's have a look at the things that we can do. The 7 basic lands that we could get with a Root Path Purifier, we could get Cradle, we could get Garenberg, Dark Depths, Field of the Dead, Nykthos, Urza's Saga, Thespian Stage, Vesuva, Rogue's Passage. We're just getting everything out of the deck that's just absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, all of your premium lands, any utility lands that you want to include, just all there and all sick. Turntimber Symbiosis, another good like flexible card where it's a land and a payoff. So I really like it in mono green decks because it shouldn't be hard to get there. Crop Rotation, you know, sacrificing land, similar thing to what we spoke about with the Elvish Reclaimer, so really good there. Nature's Claim, you know, Wilt. I like both of these because it's really like low opportunity cost to holding up 1 or 2 mana, and then Wilt even cycles, so really cool there. Heroic Intervention is just a bit of protection piece for your commander if you need it. Moving on to the next stuff, we've got all of our other non-land permanents for the deck. So we've got Mana Crypt, Mox Diamond, you know, Sol Ring, all of these things. You know, you don't need the Mana Crypt and the Mox Diamond. If you don't own them, don't chuck them in or proxy them. Do whatever you like with this stuff. It's just particularly in this deck, we don't have a lot of color ramp, and we don't necessarily need it. So Mana Crypt works really well. Mox Diamond is great because it's putting lands in your bin. You want that. You know, is it worth, you know, 650 US for a rock? Maybe not. Currency Converter is a discard outlet, so it means that you can just use this with Golgari Grave Troll in your hand, and it's 2 mana dredge 6, so really sweet. And then every now and again we can use it to create treasure tokens or, you know, rogue creature tokens to block. Expo Map, it's a land tutor, really good. Tutorable from Urza's Saga, just like all of the others that we've talked about already. Same with Shadow Spear, Sol Ring, and Skull Clamp. All of these, you know, your Urza's Saga targets. Skull Clamp's sick, you know. Once you've ramped to like 6-7 mana, your Llanowar Elves doesn't matter anymore. So you use it to draw 2 cards instead because that's going to be much more relevant. Yeah, really sick card. I would say like, you should like, I think if you play like a 60 card format with this card in the deck, it kind of makes sense. But in Commander, we can kind of like overlook this and go, oh yeah, you know, I don't really like want to do that. This card is so good. It's so cheap to draw cards, and it's really useful as a deterrent sometimes too. You know, if you've got that kind of card that's just, it's not crazy difficult. Like if you've got Ramanap Excavator as an example, you put this on your Ramanap Excavator, you know, they will look at it and go, oh, do I want to remove this? Do I want to give him 2 cards? It's not really doing anything. It's, you know, it's not really doing anything that bad. We're not running Wasteland or Strip Mine in this deck, so, you know, there's not like we're doing anything crazy aggressive, but it just, you know, protects your Ramanap or something like that. We've got Blackblade Reforged. This is just sick. This is just a beat stick in this deck. You know, 2 mana and then 3 to equip a legendary, which will maybe be our commander. And, you know, if you've got like 10 lands, which you will, you're just going to be doing an insane amount of damage. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, absolutely sick. Sword of the Animist. Once again, it's one of those things with the Root Path Purifier. Search for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tapped and shuffle. Really cool. Crucible of Worlds is just Ramanap number 2. And then we've got Exploration, Utopia Sporal, Wild Growth, and Druid class. All of these are just, you know, ramp and additional utility. Nothing really more with that. Kenrith's Transformation is more removal. You know, you can add other things as well, but I like Kenrith's Transformation because it cantrips, and it deals with really difficult things. Like, you know, you can put it on just like stuff that's really weird. Yeah, like I just like it because, you know, it deals with like a Blightsteel Colossus or something like that. Survival of the Fittest, you know, it's an expensive card, but I think it's really cool in this kind of deck because you're not using it to just power into like hardcore combo turns. You know, you're not using it to just like get your win con and then win the game. There's no Dockside Extortionist that we're getting with this, so really fun. We've got Choke, got to have a little bit of hate. Don't add this into your deck if you're going to get hate from it. And here's the last dredge card that I did mention before that I couldn't remember. We got Moldavine Cloak, which is a 3/3 buff. So it's a wild growth, a gigantic growth on an aura that's overcosted. And dredge too. So pretty cool. It's just a nice way, beating for 6 with your commander a turn is actually pretty relevant. That's four hits. With that, so very cool for that. You're probably going to get it removed at that point if you do that, but probably fine because then you can dredge it and start again, and that's going to be feeding into your overall game plan. And so rounding out these, we've got the Nissa Who Shakes the World, Nissa Worldwaker, and Renin 7. It's ramp, it's other utilities, but mostly it's just ramp. We're just using it to double the amount of mana that our forests tap for, so very cool. Untapping 4 forests. And putting any number of lands from our hand into play, or just putting all of the stuff into the bin. So very cool. We'll round it out with the lands. We've got a pretty decent chunk of different types of lands. So this is the Argoth Sanctum of Nature, pretty cool there. We've got some weird stuff coming. So we've got Ash Barrens, basic land cycling. Once again, Root Path Purifier. Blasted Landscape, it's just got cycling. So because we can, cycle and dredge and putting lands into the bin, even if they're being cycled, still gets us mana. So very cool. Besage shoot stuff, very sweet. Garenbrig, Dark Depths. Garenbrig's ramp. Dark Depths is just for getting those. Sometimes we're just going to kill them with the Thespian Stage combo. Then you just get them both back from the bin with Life from the Loam and do it again to another player. Really fun stuff there. We've got Field of the Dead, we've got some forests, we've got Gaia's Cradle, Glacial Chasm. This is just to stop you taking damage. Now, you're not going to have a lot of trouble with life with this deck, given how much, we can just gain life from incidentally putting lands into the bin. So, you don't necessarily have to include that at all. Lair of the Hydra, very sweet. Just manland. Mono green having a really good, really relevant manland is pretty sick. You can put your Shadow Spear on this and then it gets trample. It's a lot better. Excuse me. Lotus Field, combos with Thespian Stage, and Thespian Stage also combos with Dark Depths. So we've included all of those as a bit of a mini package together. You can also crop rotation for a Lotus Field to, if someone's going to destroy your land, you crop rotate it anyway, and then you put a hexproof land into play. That's pretty sweet. And your Lotus Field will also sack 2 more lands to let you get the the trigger from Argoth. So really cool there. Fetch lands, we won't go into that. Nykthos, another sweet card. We've got lots of devotion pips in this deck. Basically, I've just seen that we've got a second Prismatic Vista here. So just pretend that is another forest. So that's what we're doing there. Fixed. Rogue's Passage for unblockable. Some more snow-covered forests. Tranquil Thicket is a cycling land, so it's just card draw and dredge. Really cool there. Works well with Life from the Loam. Saga, we spoke about our targets. More fetch lands. Vesuva, important to note, any of the targets have to be on the battlefield. When Vesuva enters, they've already got to be on the battlefield before you do this. So yeah, you can't sort of get 2 lands into play at the same time. The Vesuva has to pick something that's already on the battlefield before it enters. And then the last card is Yavimaya. So that's the, the bit of a combo enabler to turn everything into a forest for all of the tutors that care about us searching for, not tutors, all of the cards that care about us doing stuff with forests, like Nissa. Both of the Nissas care, so this doubles the mana from all of it with Shakes the World, and it just means we can untap anything with Nissa, the Vital Force. God, what's the name of it? Worldwaker, sorry. Yeah, so that is the deck. It's pretty cool, I think, overall that, we're getting this kind of commander coming in. There's gonna be some feel bad moments with this commander because of it, the way that the meld mechanic works. Once your commander's removed, once as the meld side, the other half is it's going to be harder to get back. It's going to be a lot harder to get back. So you need to be mindful of that. You want to pick your battles. I've tried to build this so that it's just a fun mono green deck, even if you're not flipping it. But we've got reliable ways to do that aren't going to go all in. You know, we've got ways with the dredge mechanics and cycling and all of that. So we're not going to have to, go down 3 cards for us to get our Meld commander out, and then it gets, Path to Exiled straight away, and we get to do nothing. So we're not going to be going down cards to all of that. There's probably arguments for putting in a few different pieces. You could probably put the Great Henge in if you wanted to. There's a few other, cards that would make sense to include as well. But ultimately, it's going to be to taste. Not everyone wants to put Cradle in the deck or Choke or things like that. And maybe you do want to add, your Strip Mine and your Wastelands and that kind of card. So, yeah, that's pretty well the deck today, guys and girls and everyone else. Thanks so much for checking out the video. If you like what you see, make sure you eat your vegetables, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out at the channel. We're coming up to nearly 2,000 subs now, which is really exciting given that it was only a couple of months ago that we just cracked the 1K sub mark. So yeah, really, really awesome to see how much the channel has grown over time. And if you're coming here for the first time from the YouTube shorts that we're putting out, we sort of do this kind of stuff just as much as we do the shorts. Typically, I'll do all of the shorts in a big batch, and sort of pick and choose the times to do deck techs like this. So yeah, thanks for checking out the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. And thanks very much, and bye for now.